All right, guys, sorry for the casting couch type setup here, but I wanted to show you the latest batch of Facebook Marketplace deals I've had shipped to me and flipped on eBay. As you know, I have everything shipped to me from individual sellers across the country. I don't go out in person and source any of this stuff. Recently, a lot of people in the comments have been saying that I'm, lazy or a nerd for doing things this way. And honestly, you might be right. But I just like to be efficient. So if I have to endure a little bit of mild online bullying to do it this way, that's something I'm more than willing to accept. I've been bullied before. In high school, I was bullied for my red hair. A lot of those guys, they, grew up to be businessmen. But I've got a small YouTube channel. So honestly, who is the real loser? So it's nothing new to me. But anyway, the first deal was this Bose Wave music system. It was brand new in the box. It was actually already set up for shipping, as you can see here on Facebook Marketplace, which is a little unusual. It was listed for $150 plus $65 shipping. But as usual, you guys know I have a bad habit of overpaying for my deals. Unfortunately, she had a local buyer already on this thing trying to swipe the deal. So I had to pay her $350 total through Venmo Purchase Protection to win the deal and have it shipped to me. So all the boxes, luckily, they showed up pristine, factory sealed. Ended up getting $850 plus $50 shipping for this, leaving me with a $400 net profit, which is really good. It's kind of absurd how much money people pay for these brand new, but I'm not complaining. Bose in general is a great brand to look out for, but if you find these things factory sealed, like brand new, they almost have like collectible value. So make sure you look up the comps. An open one of these boxes can maybe go for like 1/5 to 1/3 of what it would be brand new. So it really is like almost like a collectible margin there. The next deal was a shipping label printer, a Dymo 4XL shipping label printer out of Bloomfield, Michigan. This is something I'm not smart enough to own personally, despite shipping multiple items per day. I was roasted in one of my previous videos for, just cutting my shipping labels out of printer paper individually like a 5-year-old. Guys, I never promised that I was the smartest guy. I just promised you guys I would show you some good flips. There's always room for improvement, but all I can say is thanks for watching my videos anyway, despite all those mistakes. And we're all just trying to learn here. So anyway, this came with a scale as well. I paid $77 through Venmo Purchase Protection to have this shipped to me, and I sold it on eBay pretty quickly for $150 plus shipping. Left me with about a $55 net profit, which is not bad for a $77 investment. All right, so the next deal was a video game bundle I sniped from outside of Billings, Montana. You guys can see how, this sourcing, I'm in Houston, Texas. This sourcing method allows me to be pretty sneaky. I can be anywhere at any time in the United States while sitting on my recliner. I mean, think about it. If you're limited to your own zip code, you're gonna run out of stuff to buy pretty quickly. You gotta branch out sometimes. So basically I paid $200 plus a 3% Venmo Purchase Protection fee. So I sent this lady $206 and sold everything for $370 on eBay, which is pretty good. So here's how it broke down. I ended up getting $175 for the console, this red 3DS XL console. I got $80 for Pokemon White. You tend to want to separate out the more valuable games and you lot the cheaper games together. So I sold that individually. I got $40 for this Soul Hackers game, and that was pretty good. $40 is, I'm pretty happy to do an individual listing for that price. And then $75 for the rest of the games allotted together. So this left me with about $110 in net profit. So you guys got to keep in mind, I think an item should be worth at least $30-40 for you to go through the time of making an individual listing. When I see people on eBay selling stuff for $10 or $5, like, guys, there's a fixed cost in terms of time and labor to making a listing, fulfilling an order, shipping an item. And when you really break it down, if you're not clearing at least $30 or $40 before all the fees and shipping and labor, you're probably working for minimum wage, to be honest with you. So really, respect your time. The next deal was actually a 2-for-1. So I got 2 items from the same guy. The first one was this like new 2025 M4 MacBook Air for $550. And he also had a Red Magic 10 Pro gaming phone that he threw in for an additional $450. So I ended up selling the MacBook on eBay in one day for $750 plus shipping, and the Red Magic 10 Pro in about 2 days for $665 plus shipping. So I turned $1,000 into $1,415 for fees. And so after fees, I ended up with about $233 of net profit. So, it's not the best margins, pay $1,000 to make $233, but I'm willing to accept that for items that are nearly guaranteed to sell and sell quickly. So stuff like this, keep in mind I'm paying with purchase protection on a credit card. I've got multiple layers of purchase protection. I'm racking up credit card rewards points. Plus I've got eBay seller protection. And I'm actually a top-rated seller on eBay. If you don't know what that means, basically, once your ratings are good enough, they try to make you feel special, and basically they give you extra protection. So if someone abuses the return process, you can actually return like a 50% refund if they damage your item and try to return it or swap it out or something like that. So I'm protected, more than most eBay sellers from like return fraud and return abuse. It would take me a while to make $233, going to a thrift store. So buying this stuff, having it shipped to me, it's not that much work. And then keep in mind the stuff that shows up is already packed in a box with packing material. And usually it's decent enough that I can reuse it. So I'm not going out trying to find a box, trying to find packing material. It's like built into the process. And so I just kind of slap my label on it most of the time. I check it out, test everything obviously, but I just put it back in the box and ship it out. So this whole process, maybe it'll take me a half hour to make $233. That's a pretty good hourly rate. Versus think about, all the driving you have to do to get to the thrift store, how many shirts you'd have to buy to make $233. It's kind of a, it can be done, but it's a very difficult proposition. All right, so this next deal, I dropped $1,580 total on a Garmin dog GPS system. One thing I'll recommend to you guys, if you're, if you have a significant other, is go ahead and just get like a separate business account or a business credit card. Because it used to be really hard to explain to my wife, when she saw our bank statements that, I just spent almost $2,000 on dog hunting equipment when I barely even go outside. And it took a while for her to trust me before, she would actually kind of believe that I wasn't like selling drugs or something stupid like that. But anyway, I ended up selling these locally actually. I had a guy drive and pick them up from my house for $1,850. So about a $270 net profit. I actually made slightly more than that with credit card points, but again, I realize these aren't amazing margins. You spend $1,580 to make $270, but keep in mind this is like 20 minutes of work and pretty good. If you have buyer protection, you're protected. If this stuff shows up broken or it never gets to your house, you can just file a claim and get your money back. So the risk is fairly low if you buy the right stuff and you check out the sellers. So this next one was another 2-in-1 deal. I got 2 items from the same seller. The first was this MacBook Air, really good condition, about 4 or 5 years old. It was $215 total I paid for this. And then he actually threw in a Pokemon Scarlet Violet OLED Switch for another $200, which is not a great price for that. But he kind of wanted me to buy both of them, so sometimes you have to if you really want someone to go through the trouble of shipping. So I spent $415 total on both items, and I ended up selling both items locally. So I got $320 for the MacBook, and then $220 for the Switch. So I ended up with $125 net profit. Again, the margins have not been crazy in this batch of deals, but still solid absolute, gross profit here, net profit. Your hourly rate is the most important thing. And a lot of you guys have seen this one in my last video, but the video did not get that many views. I think my YouTube channel might be dying, but seeing this many Nest cameras together all at once, honestly, to me is like, it's on the same level of seeing like a really attractive woman. Like it's, it gets people in this space get hot and bothered when they see something like this, to be quite honest with you. I know that sounds weird to some of you, but in this business, finding this many first generation sealed Nest cameras is like gold. But anyway, I had these shipped to me from Provo, Utah for $1,750 after a pretty intense negotiation that you catch in my previous video. I sold them in just under a day for $2,700 on eBay. Left me with a net profit of $530. Honestly, guys, a lot of people in the comments have been telling me that, I'm a fool for explaining my process in such detail and kind of giving away my secrets, that one day, it's going to become impossible to keep doing this because there's so much competition. And to be honest with you, since my recent videos have gotten a little bit of traction, it actually has become a little bit harder to get these deals, I've noticed. Like my margins are a little bit tighter. I have to be a little bit quicker to find the deals. There's generally a little bit less like Nest cameras available on Facebook Marketplace because people now realize how good of an item they are to find. And so, you know, who knows, maybe one day I'll have completely sabotaged myself. I won't be able to do this anymore. But like I said, guys, I never promised to be smart. You know, I'm not telling you that I'm a genius here, that I'm some sort of business strategist. I just like flipping stuff on Facebook and, you know, telling you guys about it. So, you know, if that ruins my life, then, you know, so be it. At least I had some fun here. You know what I mean? The next deal was a smaller scale Nest camera deal, but it had pretty solid margins. So I had these 2 cameras shipped to me from Hondo, Texas for $243 total through Venmo Purchase Protection. I ended up flipping them for $400 plus shipping pretty quickly. Left me with a net profit of about $110. These cameras are, you know, pretty much going for their MSRP that they sold for 10 years ago. You know, you really think about it, that's kind of insane. Very unusual for a consumer electronics item. So look out for these guys, these first generation Nest cameras. You know, but leave a couple for me, please, if you wouldn't mind. All right, more Nest cameras. I got these sealed Nestcam IQ 2-pack shipped to me from Cedar Park, Texas. After the Venmo Purchase Protection fee, I paid $123. Sold them for $255 free shipping. Left me with about a $90 net profit. So easy to ship and list these brand new sealed cameras. You know, if you got a sealed package in the cellophane wrap, I mean, what are you actually going to talk about in the description? I mean, it kind of blows my mind when people end up paragraphs in the description with a brand new sealed item. Like I just say literally brand new factory sealed. A lot of people ask me, you know, what's your secret for listing items? Like what's your secret for selling stuff on eBay so quickly? I've said this before, but these items basically sell themselves. I don't promote my listings. I don't have a trick for my descriptions. I don't really pay super close attention to my titles or keywords or anything like that. You know, people go on eBay, if they're looking for higher priced electronics, they already kind of know what they're looking for. They're just looking at the price and they want to make sure that the shipping isn't crazy and the seller doesn't have like 50% negative feedback or something crazy like that. They're just going to pick the item that they need at the lowest price. People will tell themselves like, oh, eBay's suppressing my store. You can only sell that stuff because you've sold it before. You know, eBay favors your store. Honestly, guys, that's all a myth. If you can't sell an item, lower the price. That's the reality. All right, so I'm totally gonna mix it up with this next item to keep it fresh. You know, just kidding. It's actually another Nest camera deal. You know, this might be repetitive, guys, but there's nothing wrong with making money repetitively. You know what I mean? So I got these shipped to me from Flower Mound, Texas for 120 bucks. I sold them for $235 plus shipping on eBay. Pretty good flip. These were, you know, pretty much open box. 2 of them were in the box, you know, came with 3. People love these first generation Nest cameras. Next one, another Nest camera is a first generation outdoor IQ camera. I picked up for $81 total through Venmo Purchase Protection. I ended up selling it for $180 plus shipping on eBay. At this point, I should probably honestly just open up a brick and mortar Nest camera shop where I just flip first generation Nest cameras. But the problem is that would kind of require me to interact with people in person, which you guys know is not my strong suit. So I'll probably stick to the Facebook remote deals like I'm doing. Next deal was another couple Nest cameras I got out of Carthage, Indiana. I ended up paying 120 bucks for these. Sold them for $225 plus shipping. Usually you can get a little more for them, but these one of them was missing the magnetic mount, and that actually will knock quite a bit of value off. All right, finally, there's another Nest camera deal. These were listed for 120 bucks in Washington. I ended up paying $220. So again, I'm not the smartest businessman. So if I can do this, you know, I'm pretty sure you guys can do it. Sold the 2 outdoor cameras for 255 bucks plus shipping, and then the indoor camera for 85 bucks plus shipping. You know, made a little bit of profit there. So anyway, guys, this is my latest batch of deals. This was, you know, just over $9,000 in sales, made, you know, $2,200 to $2,300 in net profit. So again, margins aren't crazy, but for the amount of work that this takes, you know, $2,300 bucks in net profit is pretty damn good. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe, give the video a like, and let me know what you want to see in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one.